David Clendon.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. Kei te mihi nui o te ata kia koutou. And we, on behalf of the Greens, we add our greetings, our acknowledgement of the representatives who are in the House today of Ngā Te Rere Ahu, Mania Poto, Tūwhare tō Rokawa, Mina Hapu katoa o Te Rohi Pōtai. So we acknowledge the very long and difficult journey that has hit a milestone today. We acknowledge those who have done a great deal of work in the past, but sadly are not here to see the fruits of that effort. And we acknowledge the current leadership of those people who today are seeing some recompense, some return of their mana, and some acknowledgement of the very difficult time that has gone ahead. So as well as offering some recompense to the individual cases, to ngā hapu, ngā whānau, these bills also create a very important and powerful historical record of this country's history. Within the text of each of these bills are the stories, the histories, the explanations, the knowledge, and they make a huge contribution potentially to the general knowledge and understanding of all New Zealanders of the need to resolve the inevitable issues that have emerged from our history, our very rich and interesting history, but one which has nevertheless left grievances in its wake. And by combining that collective knowledge and experience and making it accessible to people in this way, the bills, the legislation do provide a very powerful mechanism for increasing understanding and acceptance of the need to go through these sometimes difficult processes. I was recently found myself in one of those conversations, which unfortunately I'm sure we've all experienced, with a person who insisted that this whole treaty business, as he liked to call it, should simply be put aside. It's all just something that happened in the past. Let's just get over it and get on with the business of the day. And clearly that's the encouraging thing is that one finds oneself having that conversation less often. I think there is a much more general acceptance that only by going through these sometimes painful processes will we get genuine resolution of past grievances and create the opportunity, create the platform for both Māori and non-Māori to advance and to aspire to a future that we can all share and thrive within. I'm always reminded of the wisdom, I think, albeit he acknowledged the wisdom in hindsight, of David Williams, who some years after his own term on the tribunal proposed that perhaps we jumped too quickly into the settlement process, that perhaps we ought first to have gone through something like a truth and reconciliation process to get buy-in, to use that phrase, to the necessity of working through these settlement processes on the individual bases, on the individual claims. We didn't do that, of course, but I do think there's some sense in that. As well as dealing with individual claims and processes, I think we all need to advocate very strongly for the importance, the contemporary importance in the 21st century of resolving the historical grievance and creating those opportunities which are so richly deserved by people who have suffered over many generations from the unfortunate actions of the past generations. This bill, or these cognate bills, these two bills together, are of particular interest. That's in my first experience of a bill that created this legal entity, this incorporation, which will effectively be the manager or the overseer of the outcome of this bill. I think that principle of an incorporation captures quite nicely the approach of Māori historically, because we know that the resources, the very rich resources in the area under discussion in this bill, were shared amongst the hapu who have been named and described. The notion that resources could be shared, could be collectively enjoyed and benefited from. I think the notion of incorporation does something to turn back the practice of the Crown in the particularly mid-18th century that sought to divide and rule, to assign individual title to these blocks, rather than allowing the collective mechanism, the negotiated mechanism, to advance as it had done for a very long time. And it is a nice step back to a principle, to a practice that did work for Māori for a very long time, the notion of sharing resources and collective benefit from that sharing. The point's been made that these these bills, these settlements, create the basis for, as well as healing the past, as well as restoring mana to those whose mana has been trampled, it also creates an economic platform for development. The point was quite rightly made by Mr. Horomia that it's unfortunate that there seems to be a distinct lack of media interest in some of this. The superlative or the very positive exception to that, of course, is Māori television. And I look forward with real interest to a forthcoming series about economic development within Māoridom. Some good news stories about Māori converting settlement money and other resources into building an economic future for themselves and for their people. And I know that one of those episodes in that series will specifically refer to the ginseng project, the Maraeroa Sea initiated process, which is it's an innovative project. It's one which will give an income, a high-end income, to the people in a particular area. And I think we need to celebrate those successes and look forward to the settlements, the material return, the money, the land that is involved in these settlements being converted into a much better and richer future for Māori. And if Māori do well, we know very well that the rest of Aotearoa will do as well also. So with those few words, sir, I just simply would reiterate again our regard for the work that has been done, the long toil of the hapu concerned. Also to acknowledge Mrs. Turia for her specific work in this, her commitment to this kaupapa, this particular bill, and we look forward to a much brighter future as an outcome of this and other settlements. Kia ora koutou.